Hello, hello. Let's talk about weight loss, or in my case, the lack of it on a carnivore diet. Hi, I'm Jen. If you're new here, I am delighted to meet you. I have experienced radical healing on a carnivore diet, and believe me, going on the carnivore diet has been the best thing I've ever done for myself. But one thing I have not experienced is significant weight loss. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I posted a video recently about the ups and the downs of my experience on a carnivore diet for about a year and a half. Here's what the thumbnail looks like so you can find it, and I will also pin it at the end of this video in case you want to watch it. But in that video, I talked about lots of wonderful things I've experienced as a carnivore, like getting off my autoimmune medication for my psoriasis and conquering binge eating and all kinds of wonderful things. But there have been a few negative things too, and one of those in particular is weight loss. Now, I never set out to lose weight. That was never my point of doing the carnivore diet, but I did lose a little bit of weight at the beginning, but then I plateaued, and then ever since I've been gaining weight. So that's what we're going to dig into here. Now, when I posted that video, a lot of you commented or messaged me things that you had questions about or comments of things I could try. And so a lot of that I want to address in this video. So in that former video, I mentioned that the main reason I started this diet in the first place was for autoimmune healing. I've had psoriasis forever. I won't bore you with the whole long story right now. This diet has been a game changer for me from that perspective. I've now been off all my medications for almost a year, and my skin is not completely perfect, but it's good, okay? It's way better than it's been for decades, and I'm no longer taking poisonous medications, so I would consider that a win. During my first couple of months as a carnivore, I was really pleased to be losing a little bit of weight without trying much. I lost about 10 pounds, and to be specific, I started the diet in the low 180s and I got down to the low 170s, that's pounds, and that's still technically overweight for me. I'm about 5'8", and so I need to be more like in the low 160s to be in a normal BMI, but in the low 170s, I felt pretty good. I thought I looked pretty good. I felt pretty confident in my clothes. Here's a picture of what I looked like at about, I want to say 174 pounds, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And after that initial weight loss, after 2 months or so, I maintained it really easily because I was no longer binge eating like I had been in the past. So I wasn't going up and down with my weight. And again, I felt pretty good maintaining that. And I even said multiple times on multiple videos, hey, if I stay this weight forever, I'll be happy. I don't even care. This feels good, and I'm accomplishing all of these other goals that I set out to accomplish aside from weight loss. Now, before I was carnivore, I was exercising consistently, mostly weight training, some kind of longer distance, longer endurance cardio stuff because I like to hike and bike and walk and those kinds of things. So none of that really changed as a carnivore. I kept doing all the same thing. And if I forget to mention it later in this video, I've still continued to do all that. There hasn't been a huge change when it comes to my exercise, with the exception of having a little more trouble with some endurance activities at altitude. That has been harder for me as a carnivore. But in general, I've had plenty of energy to do exercise activities, and that hasn't changed a lot from the beginning of my journey to now. So after that first couple months, my weight definitely plateaued. And then at about the 6-month mark, I was really noticing definitely no more weight loss and kind of even a little bit of a creep back up starting to happen. Also at that 6-month mark, I noticed that I was not sleeping as well. I would wake up fully alert at an average of about 3 a.m. every night. So I'd get about 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep, wake up fully alert, ready to go, and basically just thinking, I guess I don't need as much sleep as a carnivore. I guess I only need 5.5 to 6 hours. This is awesome. I'm going to be so much more productive now because I don't need to sleep. Now, in retrospect, a year later, I think I know why this was happening. And we'll discuss this more later in this video, but I just want to mention at that time, at about that 6-month mark, I was measuring glucose and ketones, and my glucose was typically in the 60s in the morning, sometimes even in the 50s. And I know that's low, but I'm not diabetic, and I felt fine, and I would have energy to go to the gym. I'd typically work out fasted. I mostly, like I said, felt pretty good. So I really didn't worry about it at all, even though those couple little pounds were slowly starting to creep back on. About 10 months into my time as a carnivore, I decided I had achieved so many of my goals. I was off my medication, my skin was clear, I was no longer binge eating, I was feeling really good. And so I decided, okay, now I really want to focus on weight loss. And so I'm going to spend the next year or so really figuring out how to best do that, how to serve my body well, how to feed it well, how to maintain energy, but how to lose a little bit of weight. And at the beginning of that time, I got a DEXA scan, which is a scan to tell you exactly what percentage of your body is made up of fat and how much lean mass you have, what your bone density is, all of those kinds of things. So I'm going to share those details with you. I have my printout right here, so I'm going to look at this to give you the data. So on January 6th, 2023, I weighed 177 pounds. Again, I had started to gain a little bit of weight from my low of like 172 to 174, something like that. My total body fat percentage was 32.5%, so we'll round it up to 33% just for ease. I had about 58 pounds of fat, about 113 pounds of lean tissue, and my visceral fat was about 0.75 pounds. Now, I understand from the DEXA scan tech person that anything less than 2 pounds of visceral fat is considered pretty good, but the closer to zero, the better. I mean, we don't want to have any visceral fat if we can help it. But anyway, she made me feel pretty good with that 0.75 pounds. So I got these results and I felt really motivated to really improve my fitness, lose some weight, increase my not increase, but improve my body composition and just really work on sort of physique goals. And I wasn't super happy with the findings that I got, but I just felt like this is a good baseline. I'm so happy to have this data so I can look back on it in 6 months and have made a complete difference. Okay, so unfortunately that hasn't happened. But over the last, I guess, almost 9 months since I got that DEXA scan, I've tried so many things, you guys. I've tracked my macros, I've tracked calories, I've done fasting, mostly intermittent fasting, but I've tried some longer fasts as well. I've gone months dairy free, I've done the lion diet, I've gone months without coffee. I have not been cheating at all. I mean, I've barely even used spices or anything. I have been like religiously carnivore, okay? And honestly, all of those things either didn't make a difference when it came to my weight or kind of seemed like it was making things worse. So now fast forward to a couple of weeks ago when I shared the video about my progress and how I haven't been losing weight. A lot of you, because you're so sweet and awesome, wanted to just be supportive and say things like, you've probably just gained muscle and you look great. And while I really appreciate all that, I just know, I'm telling you, I don't feel as good. I can barely squeeze into some of my clothes, like my scrubs for work. And I just know I'm gaining fat. But I decided to get objective data, not just go by how I'm feeling. So today I went and got another DEXA scan. Unfortunately, I was right. So I have my results from today, and today, August 30th, I weighed 187 pounds, which is about 15 pounds up from my lowest as a carnivore and 10 pounds up from when I got my last DEXA scan done in January. My total body fat percentage is now 35%. It's up 2.5%. I have 65.5 pounds of fat tissue, about 115 pounds of lean tissue. So I did gain about 2 pounds of muscle, but I also gained 8 pounds of fat, which is not the trade that I was looking for. And my visceral fat actually went up too. I now have 1 pound of visceral fat versus the 0.75 pounds that I had before. So none of this is the direction I've been trying to go in. I'll be honest, I was really surprised to see these numbers. I mean, 35% body fat, that feels really high to me. And let me just say, I don't mean to say that in a body shaming way to anyone. If your body fat is way higher than that or way lower than that, there is no judgment here. For me personally, the 35% is too high and I don't like it. Now, I'm not trying to be super lean. I don't ever want to lose my feminine body. I love that I have curves, and that definitely plays a role in my high body fat percentage. But believe me, there's some wiggle room here for me to lose some fat for sure. Now, I recently took another full body photo, so I'm going to put that here just so you can see, in a swimsuit, what my body looks like now. And I know it looks okay. Okay. I'm not saying I look fat, disgusting, nothing, no negative adjectives. I'm just trying to give you all of the data here. And just to kind of round out that picture, I'm going to put a little video clip here today of me just kind of from all angles in my clothes so you can see in real time, not a posed photo, nothing staged, exactly what I look like right now. According to the BMI chart, which I know is not an end-all be-all, but I think it's a reasonable screening tool, I should weigh somewhere between about 120 and 160 pounds. Now, I definitely know intuitively that I need to be at the higher end of that. I mean, I have giant hands, giant feet. I wear like a 10, giant collarbones. I mean, I'm just a bigger person, and I love that. I'm not putting myself down in any way. But somewhere between like mid 150s and low 160s is where I felt my best in the past, and which puts me in technically a healthy body weight range and where my clothes fit and where I feel good. So that's what I'm aiming for. And that would require me to lose about 30 pounds. I just really don't think that that's too much to ask. Now, here's why I think that this has not been easy for me. And I know sometimes it is easy for people, and all you have to do is eat the meat and do like Dr. Berry says. You don't have to track anything. It's just easy. And that does seem to be the case for a lot of people, but not for me. And I know that is not the case for a lot of you either, because you tell me. And so that's why I'm making this video. I mean, I don't love showing my body and talking about my insecurities and all of that, but I'm sharing the process with you while I'm still in the middle of it. It's hard to do, but I think there's value in that. So as I'm trialing and erroring, I can share that with you, and hopefully I'll master this and you can benefit from some of my experience. In my opinion, what's happened that's made it so hard for me to lose weight is, remember back when I said about 6 months into the carnivore diet, that's when my weight stalled. It started creeping back up, and I was not sleeping well at night, and I was finding my morning blood sugars to be super low. Well, I think that what was happening was my blood sugar was dropping a lot through the night, so my body would release cortisol to increase my blood sugar, and that would wake me up feeling alert and ready to tackle the day. And I think I've just been in a high cortisol state ever since. And again, this is just my hypothesis, but I think that for about the last year, this has been going on. And I think high cortisol levels have increased my feelings of stress, kept me from sleeping well, and just caused me to slowly start steadily gaining weight. Now, here's what I'm going to do about it. For one thing, I'm going to continue eating a mostly meat diet. Definitely the proper human diet in Dr. Berry's words. But I am planning to selectively include some carbs, even some from plants. So I'm going to choose ones that are low oxalate and low in anti-nutrients. And I'm also going to prioritize some animal foods that have carbs, like yogurt and cottage cheese and those kinds of things, for example. I'm going to wear a continuous glucose monitor so I can see what's happening with my blood sugars overnight. And I'm also going to use that data to see what's happening during the day with the foods that I eat. And I want to really make sure that I'm keeping my glucose low, not super low to the point that it's a problem, but low and stable and steady. I'm also going to really prioritize my sleep, my stress levels, and continue to exercise. If I'm correct in thinking that this is a hormonal issue specifically related to cortisol, then all of those steps really should help. I plan to document this as I go and be open and honest and just share the process with you as I do it, because I think that it really will probably help a lot of you. And if nothing else, it helps me to kind of stay the course, because I know that people are counting on me. And so I want to get to the bottom of this for myself, but I also hope that, these trials and tribulations aren't in vain. Just like with my psoriasis, like I had a terrible time with it for decades, and now I can help other people because of my experience. So I hope that a similar situation will arise from this. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for caring, and I look forward to sharing all this with you as I go. So if you like this and you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe, and catch me on Instagram where we can connect even more frequently.